welcome. And I see a lot of us have been putting in comments where we're actually joining from. So it's great to see the comments coming in, and would encourage you to keep those comments coming in and just let us know where exactly you are joining from today. Where exactly? Okay, welcome Ebuka. It's good to see you. Welcome Ebuka. I see there are quite a number of people joining already. Okay, I see Shay is also on the call. So welcome. It's great to see everyone this evening or this afternoon, this morning, depending on where you're actually joining from. All right, depending on where you're joining from. Anita from South Africa. Welcome, Anita. It's great to have you on board. It's good to see you on here. Fonshell, I hope I pronounced that properly. Okay, Emmanuel is joining in from Ibadan. That's very good. Welcome, Emmanuel. It's good to have you on board. All right, it's good to have everyone. Mark from Enugu, it's very good to have you on board. So welcome to everyone who is joining today. Welcome. Would like to say a big welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, thank you so much for joining, and keep the comments coming in. All right, so we're just going to go straight into it, and we're going to be just introducing the YDOS for some of you who are joining for the first time. It's the Youth Day of Service. I see Anastasia from Nigeria. It's great to have you on board today. So I see a number of us joining. It's the Youth Day of Service. Hi, Mark. It's great to have you. And today, the webinar is actually going to be focusing on the Youth Day of Service 2000, volunteering for the Youth Day of Service 2021. What next? So that's the focus for us today. And we have some very, very interesting speakers that are going to be joining us this afternoon or morning, depending on where you're joining us from. But I'm just going to take us through a very quick background, or give us some context for those of us who are joining for the very first time on the YDOS, which is the Youth Day of Service. So as some of you may know already, the Youth Day of Service really, it's what it is. It's an event or a program that has been organized by LEAP Africa in collaboration with other partners, such as the African Union, Ford Foundation, and so many other interesting partners that have come on board to support us on this particular project. And the YDOS really is in commemoration of the International Youth Day. So a lot of you may know or not know, and if you don't know, I guess you'll be hearing it for the first time, that on August 12th, the International Youth Day all over the world is celebrated, is marked. And so LEAP Africa, that is a youth-focused organization, building leaders, building transformative leaders for Africa, has put together this program. Now, last year was the maiden edition, and this year is an improvement. And so we've opened it up this year to Africa, to other parts of Africa. So we have a wider audience this time. We have a wider audience, and we're calling from all parts of the continent for people to volunteer and participate in the Youth Day of Service. All right, so at the moment, we currently have quite a number of people that have reached out to register their projects. And one of them being, we actually have 445 projects, and we're still counting. We also currently have over 3,400 volunteers who have signed up. And all of these projects and volunteers have come from 22 plus countries, still counting. The reason why I keep saying still counting is that we have a lot more entries that are coming in by the minute, by the moment. So these figures may not be exactly accurate down to this second or down to this minute. All right, so it's great to have everyone on here, and we're going to be going straight into our session today. We have some very interesting speakers on the call who are going to be sharing from their experience, and it gives me great pleasure to actually welcome two people who are our first speakers this afternoon and who are going to be sharing with us about learning from the past. Learning from the past, notable past YDOS 2020 project leads. Like I said, the project actually kicked off last year. The maiden edition was done last year, and we had a number of volunteers and project leads as well. I just have to remind you, if you haven't registered a project yet, please head down to www.youthdaleservice.org. I'll say it again and would have my colleagues put it in the chat. It's www.youthdaleservice.org. It's one word altogether. So please register a project. I think the deadline is still the 10th of August, so you have about 4 more days to go. And then you can also still volunteer on a project if you haven't done that just yet. I believe that our speakers are in at the moment, and so I would just introduce them very quickly so that we can begin the conversation. We have a very interesting and diverse speaker lineup today for you, and we're trusting that you would have an amazing and incredible time learning from these speakers, learning from the experience that they're going to be sharing from. All right, so very quickly, I have the first set of speakers, and I would be welcoming, and please join me also in the comments in welcoming these people. So the first speaker we have today is actually Miriam Balogun, and Miriam is the project lead for Art for Wellbeing. Miriam, you are highly welcome. You are highly welcome. And I see Ogene is also welcoming you in the chat. It's great to see you. How are you today? All right. You're muted, so we can't exactly hear you if you're speaking. Awesome. Okay, come off mute. Good afternoon, Miriam. How are you? Welcome. It's good to have you on board. Thank you for joining us. All right then. Okay, so the second speaker that we have is Ebuka Peter Alumona. Ebuka Peter Alumona. So join me in welcoming Ebuka. And Ebuka is a project lead, interestingly, from last year, the Youth Day Service 2020 edition. Ebuka, you are very, very welcome. If you can come off mute and turn your video on so we could just see your face and say hello to you as we begin to delve into the session. Ebuka, can you hear us? Oh, yes. Awesome. It's good to see you. How are you today?
Very well.
Awesome, awesome. That's good. Very good to hear, Ebuka. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, and so we'll go straight into it. And so this afternoon, we're going to be asking a few questions, Ebuka and Miriam. And I'd like you to also just share your experiences because we have a lot of volunteers on the call today who have signed up for the YDOS. We may also have some people who are still trying to make a decision about whether to sign up. So your experience is very important this afternoon. So we're going to be looking at learning from the past, notable past YDOS 2020 project leads. My first question, I'm going to start with the first question this afternoon. And that question actually goes to Miriam. So Miriam, could you tell us about your most significant experience as a project lead during the YDOS 2020? Very briefly, would like to just hear from you, Miriam. Tell us about your most significant experience as a project lead. I believe you were a project lead last year, and it's great to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So my most significant experience as a relationship building, the fact that I got to meet a number of people that, you know, I'd never met before because we asked for volunteers, they signed up and all of that. I think last year we put up our project and then people were made to reach out to us. And through that project, I was made to make connections with other people. You know, imagine having people you've never found and working together towards a goal. For me, it's actually an experience because of the fact that people are an asset. They are a resource. So for me, that experience of, you know, relating with other people, bonding with them.
Awesome. All right.
interact with people. It's very
Great.
key point for me.
Great, awesome. So thank you, Miriam. I know it was breaking up a bit, the sound, but I think we did manage to hear most of what you said. And I think the key thing you said was the interaction, the networking, the community of people, the community of volunteers, the community of other project leads, you know, just putting your hands to work and, you know, making a change in your community. Awesome. Thank you very much, Miriam. So let me come to Ebuka. Ebuka, do you want to share your own significant experience from last year?
Well, okay, yeah, it's not quite different from Miriam's experience, but it was intense meeting people. And, you know, the funny thing was I was still serving at that point. So I signed up for my project. I entered my project before service, POP. But the project happened after POP. So most of the people that had signed to volunteer, they had moved to their states, to different places. So bringing them together again just to achieve the project, it was a big one. So that was mostly the experience I faced.
Awesome. And you actually just touched on my next question. Actually, thank you so much, Ebuka, because I was going to ask yourself and Miriam how you managed to coordinate. I think it would also just be interesting to hear your thoughts on how many volunteers did you have on your project? Okay, so we have a few project leads, or we have many project leads on the call today, and we have some volunteers as well. I'm sure a lot of them will be curious to find out, how did Miriam manage her team of volunteers last year? And how did Ebuka also manage the team of volunteers? I mean, besides the you know, the camaraderie amongst all of you and, you know, all of the interaction and the networking. When it comes down to being a project lead, right, on YDOS, it's a different ball game, and you need to be able to manage your team, you know, and just work. So how was that for you? What particular things did you do?
Okay, I said the two most important strategies I employed in managing the volunteers was having a clear goal in mind. Okay, this is what I want to achieve, and this is what I want you guys to, you know, this is how I want you guys to come in. So having a tangible goal in mind, like we could measure the goal. So the goal for the project was very clear. Everyone that came on board was, okay, this is what we are trying to achieve for this particular project. How can we achieve this? This is what we intend to have at the end of the day. So how can we achieve that? So I think that is very important. Having a tangible goal in mind is very key. And then we should, I think another thing I did that was very important was the fact that I prioritized regular volunteer recognition. So imagine after assigning roles and job descriptions to people, okay, you handle this, you handle that. And then come back on the group, because we had to create a group where we had to, you know, interact with everyone together. After someone does something, I'll go back to the group and be like, okay, this person was able to handle this. I think we should applaud the person. And that was a way of encouraging volunteers, you know, to make them know that your impact, that little thing that you did, is going a long way for this whole project that we are all doing together. So I think that's very important. So prioritizing regular feedback and giving volunteers recognition, like make them feel like they're a part of something. Don't just, okay, they are volunteering for you, make them feel like, okay, they are doing something big, even if it's not.
Awesome. I think we're having a bit of a lag.
Okay, make it big by the way you appreciate them.
Okay.
Okay, I think that'll be all from me.
Okay, all right, Miriam. I think we're having a bit of a lag. That was why I interjected. But I think we got most of what you had said. And I'll just summarize when I hear from Ebuka. Ebuka, could you also just share yours as well?
Okay, yeah. So for strategy, so I had to be intentional about strategy, because I had about 11 to 13 volunteers. I think 12, me making it 13. So I had to be intentional about the strategies I had to put to make the project work. So most of us had not seen each other before. So I had to create a WhatsApp group, just like Miriam did. So the WhatsApp group, I did not just start by, introducing the project. And so I started by, having a call with them. Let's talk, let's get to know each other. So we started talking, started, trying to blend, trying to know ourselves, not even touching the project. So we started getting to know each other, and that really built a bond. So after that, we now had to introduce the project. And I didn't just say that this is the project, because it would look like I'm being bossy. So I had to tell them that this is the plan. Is there any ideas you have? So we started ideating. And so before you know, the project I thought was a wonderful one became even more wonderful because they had to input ideas. So that was like the strategy, making everybody come together, So even when we had finished the project, we even saw a need to hang out, and even to today, most of us still communicate together just because we're able to build that bond. So my strategy was to build bond, friendship, then before we delve into the project, because that was very, very important if we're going to achieve the project. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ebuka. And that was very helpful. I think in addition to what Miriam had said, just understanding how you could also bring in some other activities and some other ideas into just, building that cohesion between your team members. I think that that's also very, very instructive, because sometimes when we get into this project and we're trying to execute, we just feel like, okay, the people we have or the volunteers we have are basically just appendages that we want to be able to use to achieve our projects. But I like how you also talk about the fact that you met up, you had some other activities, you had some other events that were helping you to really build that rapport and develop that camaraderie on your team. So well done. And Miriam also just talking about how to delegate and putting everyone together and saying, how do we play to each other's strengths and how do we play to each other's areas of interest, and getting people to just put all hands on. So I like the very interesting sites that you're both bringing. Now I want to put in, and just to remind everyone who's listening to us and who's watching, to please also just put in their comments about key things. So if anything's jumping or resonating with you, please just put it in the comments. We'd like to see it. Let me go to the next question, Ebuka and Miriam, and I would ask two in one so that we can begin to wrap up. The first is, in implementing the project itself, what were some of the challenges that you had, and how did you overcome those challenges? And then the second part of the question is, were you able to get funding? How did you come about funding to be able to cater to the project that you implemented with your team last year? So Miriam would hear from you first, and then we'll come to Ebuka.
Okay, when we had the project last year, it was there was still a bit of the coronavirus, there was still a bit of the lockdown. And so most of the things we had to do, or most of the volunteers we had, volunteered from outside of Lagos, and our project was in Lagos. I think the main challenge we had then was getting people physically. I think by the time we analyzed the whole group, we found out that most of the volunteers were outside Lagos. That was the challenge, because the project we had to do was something very physical. We had to go to a school to teach children art. So it was very physical, and so we had to navigate through that. And thankfully, I was able to call a friend who was the assistant project lead, who was able to get other volunteers. I think we're able to use some more people who were on ground. But thankfully, people that were online, that were outside of Lagos, were able to contribute in other ways. So I think that was the major challenge we had during the program.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miriam, for that. And the funding question, you didn't
Okay,
How did you do with
for the
funding?
funding, yes. So for the funding, we did not crowd fund. We did not raise funds. We had to use our own personal funds because at the beginning we made the volunteers realize that there are three ways in which you can volunteer. You can volunteer with your time, your talents, or your treasure. Your treasure being money. So time, treasure, talent. So time, you okay. If you can't be there physically, you can at least provide something through your skills, provide time for us, your money, your treasure. Okay, we have to buy so and so thing. Who is willing to provide some money? So what we just raised was within ourselves and all. So I think we can also incorporate that into this year's youth day of service. We can encourage people. You can volunteer with your time, your talents, and your money. And if your project is something that, okay, you need a lot of money, or I don't know, you can also look outside of your volunteer group to maybe family members, to close friends and associates, and or depending on the way you publicize your project, you can also get some funding from people that you don't even know at all. So that, I think those are the ways in which you can fundraise for your projects.
Awesome, fantastic. So everyone, time, treasure, talent. I think that that's very critical. And I think that that's a key thing that we can all take away. Ebuka, from you very quickly, challenges you had, how you were able to overcome, and then how did you deal with funding as well?
Okay, while I was answering the first question, I talked about how after POP, so many people left Uyo. So I served in Uyo. So out of like 11 volunteers, about 5 were no longer in the city at that time. They had gone home due to the corona, and after service, people want to go back to where they came from. And personally, I also had to interviews in Lagos, so I had to move, right? So it was a bit of a challenge. So when we started talking about the project, I was like, okay, so you're going to come back for the project implementation. So, okay, what are your skill sets? What can you do? One said graphic design. The other said you can write, it's good content writing. The other said this. I was like, okay, fine. So if you check on LinkedIn, we have like graphic designs that we created, content writing inside the graphic design. So I was like, okay, so since we have a number of people in Uyo, and this set of people are not in Uyo, so you guys are going to work with your talent, with your skills to help us get this project out there, because the essence of the project is to foster cleanliness in the community. Because one thing that really got me into this project was when I arrived to Uyo, I saw that the place was very fine, beautiful, but the people just did not care about how they dropped their dirt. So they just littered everywhere. And Uyo is a very fine city, so why litter the environment? So I was like, okay, this is something they need to learn. So if we create graphics and we post them group chats and different places, other people will get to know about this project, and it will be effective. There'll be like a ripple effect, right? So I had to use that to build into the project. So people worked from we had people that had gone back to Abuja and Lagos, so they all worked with people that were in Uyo, and everybody worked together. So it even helped our moving to funding, because when I needed to write to people that we need money for this project, I can't just tell them with word of mouth. They need to see something. So apart from checking the YGOS website, they need to see that there is a flyer for it. There's something to show that this project is real. So our flyers, our graphic designs, and the content we put out there was able to show people that, yes, this is real. And also go to the website to see that, yes, this project is actually a project. So it's not scam. So I had to leverage on, because it's not a very, very big project, so I can't start writing grants and all of that. So I had to ask friends that I knew that they have money, big friends. Since I have big friends, I had to write to them, I had to contact them that this is what we are doing, and I need you guys to help us. I'll post the pictures and all of that. Before you know, we got funding for our project, and even some leftover for refreshments. So that's how it all happened.
All right, good stuff. Thank you so much, Ebuka, for that. So I think the key things, everyone, really is to take away from this conversation is really that respect and appreciation is key. Talent, treasure, and time is also key. You want to communicate that. And then also just leveraging your personal network. I think one of the key things that Miriam and Ebuka have shared today is that, don't be shy to reach out to your personal network. Don't be too overwhelmed with, how are we going to raise funds or how are we going to get money to execute this project? There's always something around you that you can leverage. There's always something around you that you can use. So let's all just remember that. I want to thank Ebuka and Miriam particularly for making time to have this very brief discussion with us. And I know that a lot of people on the call today have learned one or two insights, from what you've shared and are looking and excited about going into this year's edition of the Youth Day of Service. So I hope you would also still be on board as we continue today. Thank you so much, Miriam.
Yeah,
thank you so much
for having me,
Ebuka, and keep spreading the word of the Youth Day of Service. All right, thank you very much. Okay, then. So everyone, you've heard it from Ebuka and you've heard it from Miriam. Make sure that you do sign up. If you're a project lead here, remember there are key things you can do. Respect your team, appreciate your team, be willing to, play to their strengths, be willing to play to their talents, and make sure that you're coordinating as much as possible to be able to execute your projects. And don't be shy to reach out to your network, right? And attract funding if you need to. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we're moving on to the next conversation now. And I have a very interesting person also in the room who is going to be conversing over the next few minutes. And we're going to be talking thinking global and acting local, right? So within your communities, it's important that whilst you are doing the things that you are doing as a project lead, as a volunteer, you're also mindful of the importance of thinking global. Right. So there are many times people are doing projects, and in terms of the quality, in terms of the effort, in terms of, what you're putting into that project, we're thinking local sometimes and we're acting even way below local. All right. But now we have somebody, Emanuela Alimlim, I believe I pronounced that properly, and she's the program analyst at Mastercard Foundation. Emanuela, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you for joining. And I'm going to be asking a few questions. I can see you already on the call. Hello, Emanuela. How are you today?
I'm good, Rumi. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well, thank you. It's great to have you on this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. So think global. I mean, every time we hear this, global, and global has become a very common phrase, common word in our climate these days. But when you think about sustainable development, Emanuela, and you work with Mastercard Foundation, there've been different sectors, there are different countries, there are different ways that people are contributing to the development goals. What does thinking global and acting local really mean to you when we think about the sustainable development goals? And for people here who are going to be implementing or executing projects, that speak to the goals, what is it? What does it mean to you to think global and act local?
Thank you very much, Rumi, for that question. I think really a lot of people have been talking a lot about this concept of thinking global but acting locally. So what does that mean to me? For me, the world has become such a small place. A great example right now is the pandemic really affecting people from North America to Asia to Europe to Africa. All of us are affected by it. It does not spare anyone. But if you look at our own communities, if you look at our own where we come from, where we grew up, there's a lot of challenges that are going on. And if you try to look at it like that, it really ladders up to the larger problem that's really across different continents. And really thinking globally is looking at what is happening right now around the globe. For instance, if you look at the transformation that has occurred as a result of internet, smartphones, those are things that have are happening across globally. But they also, if you look at smaller places like the African continent, things like WhatsApp are really, the bigger part, the consumption is there. So if you're thinking about really the challenges, if you look at the world anger problem, or if you look at the girls' education, you start at your own community where you are and look at it and say, when I finished primary school, only 2 girls really went to high school or proceeded to the next level. But if you look at it at a larger scale, it's also happening at different parts of the world. So you have to start thinking the challenges and the solutions in such a way that at the end of the day, it contributes to the larger goals and the sustainable development goals that you're passionate about, that gives you that motivation to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emanuela. And I totally agree when you use the analogy of the pandemic. So they actually, and I just want to remind our audience that they could note their questions. We'll have a Q&A session shortly, but also just keep putting your comments in on things that are resonating with you as we speak with our guest. So thank you, Emanuela, for sharing that. I think that's really, really important that we keep finding and teasing out those ways that our projects and the little things that we're doing, seemingly little, tie into the global space, tie into the global goals, the sustainable development goals, and the impact that we're making. The next thing I would want to ask you, Emanuela, is what are some of the strategies that people could adopt at this time? So they're young people who are passionate about volunteering, who are good on making a change, who want to do something that relates to the sustainable development goals, and they're asking themselves, I'm not too sure I have the equipment or strategies that I can use to be effective. And there's some people that actually just see some of the projects as maybe just a drop in the ocean, right? What are some of the strategies that they could begin to implement or adopt today as they look to carry out their projects that helps them to be global in their thinking, whilst being local in their acting?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that question. And I think Ebuka had touched a little bit about that as I was listening in, about the strategy that you can really incorporate as you build your work around volunteering for the Youth Day of Service. So I think one of the critical things is about the mindset. While it's something intangible, you cannot touch it. It's the intentionality that I am going to do this. Come rain, come sunshine, I am going to that school and I'm going to paint it. And the intentionality really builds your courage to come out and participate without really thinking about what am I getting after this. The satisfaction that you are getting after this is that you've supported your community, you supported the people that you care about, and you go away. The other thing I think I really like that the speakers really shared today is about bringing everybody together. You're coming with a lot of volunteers who've really put their hands up and say, sign me up, I'm happy to show up and support. So your work as the lead is to say, okay, I am not going to lead, I am going to participate as one of them. I am going to show them that I can actually lead by doing the work and not really dictating what to do. So that's where the concept of respect comes in. You're respecting everyone, you are leveraging each other's strength and not putting everything on one person. So it really has to do about the strategy that ensure that you are learning from each other. There's this concept that well, we come together, we leverage each other's strength, but also we peer learn, we peer connect, for lifelong connections that really will sustain even after the Youth Day of Service has ended. And you never know, that person could come back 20 years, 40 years from now and really say, we participated in Youth Day of Service together and look where we are right now. So those strategies that are really ingrained in you are really important. And also you have to be passionate about what you're doing, right? You have to be passionate about what you're doing as one of the strategy. You cannot want to do something that will make you, I don't think I'm passionate about going to the elderly home or to people living with disability or cleaning up the streets. I would rather participate in painting. So love what you're going to do and bring everybody along. Also, another thing that I think it's a really key strategy is making sure that everybody is involved. Don't leave anyone behind. And I think a lot of other speakers have really spoken about that, making sure that the communication flows. Don't leave the communication to certain people. Make sure that everybody understands what is going to happen from 10 minutes from now, 20 minutes from now, 30 minutes from now, making sure everybody is on the same page and really appreciate and celebrate even the small winnings. Every small winning counts. Don't say, I only did this small part, thus I am not good enough, I don't feel good. Please celebrate those small winnings and also take time to learn about the struggles and really for next time put into work some of the things that didn't go well, and those are learnings that you could incorporate about next phase.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emanuela. That was packed. So there's be passionate about it. There's appreciate and celebrate even the little wins, the things that look like they're little. There's the learning from each other. Make sure you're learning from each other. You're taking advantage of all the different perspectives that your volunteers are bringing to the project. So amazing. I think one thing that has been resonating is this appreciation of the team, is learning, is this community and this communal approach to working on projects. I think that whilst we think that we are addressing some local issues, or whilst we may be implementing or executing local projects, the fact that we're thinking globally is that we're understanding that the people that we have on our team as volunteers are not just tools or instruments. They're also people who bring value to our projects. They're people that we could also learn from. They're people who deserve to be appreciated and celebrated because they have even made a decision to come on board. So that's fantastic. And don't leave anyone behind. I like that part as well. Don't leave anyone behind as much as you can, because sometimes, project leads will say, well, my project, some people are not as responsive as others, still try to reach out to them. Don't leave anyone behind, because you just never know. You really never know. Thank you so much.
And one thing I wanted to highlight is really have fun throughout the process. Dance. If you want to put some music for 5 minutes and all of you participate in dance. If you want to sing. So have fun throughout the process. It really makes a difference.
Have fun. Think global, act local, but have fun. Have fun at the end of the day. Have fun at the end of the day. It's not that serious, okay? Be excited about what you're doing. Let the excitement exude from you as a project lead, as a volunteer. Let it become infectious. So like Emanuela said, if you need to take 5 minutes and you all just dance and go through a dance routine, some people, don't dance a lot anymore. Emanuela is so interesting. A lot of these things, we don't do as much of them anymore. And it affects the way we do things, right? It does affect our mood. It affects the way and the inputs that we put into some of these things. So thank you so much. Emanuela, any final comments just for everyone who's on this? Because we have project leads who are going to be leading projects. We also have volunteers who are going to be volunteering for projects. If you had one final comment to say to encourage them, what would it be, Emanuela?
First of all, I want to say congratulations and really very proud of each one of you for putting up your hand and really wanting to contribute for the Youth Day of Service and even beyond. And I'll really leave you with you really one thing that I've been thinking critically, even in my personal, life. Be loud. Be hard. Ebuka talked about reaching to your friends that have deep pockets and big people. go there. Do not be afraid, to say, listen, I have this project that is coming up, I'm very passionate about, and I need your support. So in the process, you're even building your self-confidence for other things that will come in many years to come. So be hard, be loud, partner with your volunteers, and really have fun throughout the process, and wishing you the very best.
Thank you so much, Emanuela. Be loud, be hard. I like that. So those are taglines today. Be hard, be loud. So if our listeners could put that in the comment, if it resonates with them, be loud, be hard. Thank you so much, Emanuela. Really appreciate your time today, and look forward to hearing more from you, and just more collaborations as well, even on the Youth Deal service. Thank you so much. Please, let's thank Emanuela for her time as we begin to move to the next speaker. All right, so I hope we are still here, and I hope we're enjoying and we're learning. I see a lot of comments. I see some people are putting some keywords in the comments already, and it seems like we're excited. A lot of people are powered up. They are fired up and they're ready to go. I'd like to just remind you, on your screen now is what success looks like for us at the Youth Day of Service 2021. There are outputs that we're looking to achieve, and we're trusting and relying on you all on this call to help us get to 100 micro-influencers. 5,000 volunteers is our target, 1 million beneficiaries across through the executed projects this year, and we are counting on you. We trust that you will come and you will bring all of the projects and the impact that your projects will be making across the continent. And so this is really what we're trying to achieve this year with the Youth Day of Service. Okay, priority regions are actually 4 in number. And you saw them there: West, East, Central, and Southern Africa. So if you are in West Africa, if you're in East Africa, if you're Central or Southern Africa, come on board. And a minimum of 20 African countries, okay? 20 African countries are involved this year. Wow, I'm excited about that. I don't know about you. Okay, so going on to the numbers I shared earlier on, we're still counting. These are the current stats from our dashboard right now. We have 445 plus projects. We have 3,415 volunteers, and we are counting in the minutes. We're counting down to the 12th of August, and then we have 22 plus countries, all because of you. So keep the word out, keep the energy up, and let's get as many people as we can on board the Youth Day of Service. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you Oluwaseyi Oluyole, who is going to be speaking with us very shortly about her story of change. She is the founder of the Dreamcatchers Academy, amazing young lady doing incredible things. You're going to be hearing from her shortly. I have personally met her, and I know the work she's doing. She has a lot to share with us today as well, just like our previous speakers. Okay, so Shay, are you in the house? If you're in the house, can you just turn your camera on if you can, okay, or just say a hello, just to be sure you're in the house. I think I did see her on the call earlier. Shay, are you there?
Everyone. Yes,
how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Shay, do you want to be a bit louder, so maybe closer to the microphone?
Okay, can you hear me now? Is it better?
It's better now. It's better now.
Okay.
It's better. Yeah, but just as much volume as you can, would really appreciate. Okay, so Shay, welcome. Thank you for joining. How are you today? Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm fine. Thank you. Awesome, great. So I'm going to ask you a question, and let's start with this. You have the Dreamcatchers Academy. Tell us about it, Shay. How did your story of change, how did you build the Dreamcatchers Academy? Fantastic initiative you have going on there. Interesting kids you have, talented kids you have. How did you build it, Shay, in a nutshell? I mean, I know there's so many parts to it, and you can give us an entire documentary on how you built it, but just in a nutshell, in a few statements, how did you build the foundation of the academy? Okay, so it actually started when I was 15. I basically started academy when I was 15, but it wasn't Dreamcatchers Academy at the time. I used to I had one teenage name, Damptress and Her Fabulous Dancers. That's what I used to call it back then. But it started from a personal place for me because, you know, I had been out of school for a while, and then I got to meet children that their reality was way worse than mine. I was out of school because my family had gone through a financial setback. But then I met children that they didn't even understand what education was. And at that time, I was a teenager, and what I really had to give them was my talent. So I started to, you know, teach them to dance and to act. And then I realized that that was actually a way to keep them in school. And then now, growing as an adult, I did a research recently that actually, that when I found out that children, when children are involved in arts in school, they are less likely to drop out of school. So basically, that's it for me.
Say that again, Shay. Say that again. Say that again.
Children who are involved in arts in school are less likely to drop out of school.
Awesome. Carry on. I just wanted you to emphasize that. Carry on.
Yes, and that's basically how the academy came about. And of course, as I grew older, I got smarter and I knew how to run things better. And so that's how we had the name Dreamcatchers Academy, where most people always mistake it for dream chasers, but I always remind them, because, you know, you can chase a dream, you can chase a goal and never get it. But when you say you want to catch something, you know what you are going for and you're not going to stop until you get it. And so that's what it's about. And it's mostly to, you know, offer educational opportunities to girls from indigent and low income homes, but also to give them a chance to explore their talent and know that the only thing that can stop your dream is you yourself. You can go as far as you want to be.
Fantastic, fantastic. Shay, thank you for that. And you know, I like how you talk about the catching. And I think this is, you know, you can go for the goal, but you know, if you catch something, so you're trying to come from a place of, you know, just the imaginative power, that when we have a catch, you know, we're able to catch, and so dream catchers, so they're catching their dreams, and low income indigent families. And you talked about this incredible stats, which is, you know, students who are involved in arts are less likely to drop out of school. And I see that a lot because, you know, your kids and the kids that are part of the academy, you know, they're so, I mean, the amazing dancers. I don't know, a lot of those moves I can't do, but it's all good. So Shay, I think the next question I'll be asking, and well done with the work that you're doing, is from your experience, what are some of the tools or the skills that you feel are needed to be able to create a story, an impactful story of change? What do you think? Tools, skills to be able to create carefully and intentionally an impactful story? Because your story is an impactful story. You've talked about how it started from a personal journey and how it extended to your community. But what are some skills and tools that people listening today can begin to adopt in curating or creating, you know, a compelling and impactful story of change?
I think that number one is being able to learn, you know, because, you know, at every point in time, you always need to learn. And I would say, ideally, I would say read books, but these days, there's more than books. There are articles out there, there are online courses that people can attend. So it's just always want to learn, always want to know more. I think another very important thing is human capital. It took me a while to realize that, but it's very important to have people around you who believe in your vision. And I always say that, you know, if you feel like, and that's why it's important to know where you are going. So if you have someone around you that doesn't understand where you are going, it might be time to drop them and always find people that believe in you at every point in time. Also, entrepreneurial skills, which I found out about that one literally this year, because for you to be able to run an enterprise, sometimes people think that passion is enough, but your business head has to be there. Otherwise, you find yourself making decisions always from your heart when you're also meant to make decisions with your head. So, you know, entrepreneurial skills are very important. Also, public speaking. It's important to be ready to want to speak to people, want to tell people about the great work that you're doing. And now that we live in a world of social media, content creating, learn how to create content. Learn how, because that's one of the best ways to tell your story. You might not be able to, get big TV stations or blogs to post your story yet, but once you know how to create content, you just keep creating content, because I know that people are always watching. People are always watching, and then know the community that you want to go and work with, your beneficiaries. It's not just about going and say, I want to give them this. Sometimes we misunderstand the needs in that community. And it's important to get to know the community you're working at, so that you don't offend them while you think that you're trying to help them, and then you start to do offensive things. Yeah, I think these are the important things.
Fantastic. Wow, Shay, that's a lot. So entrepreneurship, okay, you have to have entrepreneurial skills. You talked about learning, be a lifelong learner, be open to learning. You talked about, engaging, your communication skills, your intelligence. I see the last bit as, being just intelligent, emotionally intelligent. You don't want to offend, the community. You're going in there, you have this very bright idea, and I imagine how, it was for you to be able to convince a lot of the parents of the kids that you have in your academy that you wanted to make some good out of them, so those communication skills, interpersonal, emotional intelligence, and entrepreneurial. I think the key thing about entrepreneurial is that, somebody had put in the comment, passion is not enough. You need to go and learn. You need to be a lifelong learner. You need to be open to learning and understanding how to, and then the financial side of things. You talked about accounting, just basic accounting as well. So amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shay, for that. My final question to you, Shay, is there are project leads and there are volunteers on the call today. And if you were to advise them on how they could tell their stories. I know you also mentioned social media management, being social media savvy so that they can project their stories. In what ways can they project a lot of the impact from their implementation projects? I know you've talked a bit about it already, but as they're going into this project, some people are looking at, it's 12 to 18. Some of them would continue even after then, but how can they be intentional over the next few days in projecting and telling impactful change stories? What are some of the 1, 2, 3 steps they can start taking?
Okay, first of all, the first sentence I would say is don't do it for the gram. And what I mean by don't do it for the gram is don't do it because of the attention you think that you would get. Because I always say one thing, like the universe sees your heart and people always see your heart. And it's one thing for people to say, oh, this person is doing a good job. And it's a different thing for 5, 6 people to hear your name and be like, oh, when I was on this project with this person, they were so amazing, they were so passionate, they made the right decision. So I think that that's one very important thing. Find a field that you are passionate about and just keep doing it. When you find a field that you're passionate about, it makes it a little bit easier. And another thing that is also important is documentation. Take pictures, take videos, find how to tell your story in a way that would benefit others, that anyone who would come would see. And also, you also have to be careful of, don't just post anything on social media. Like I always say, these days when you apply for a job or a program or a fellowship, one of the first few things that they would do is go on your social media page and look through it. So, you are very, very careful. Everything that you are doing, let it be in line and have a goal. Don't hop from one place to the other. Know exactly what you want to do, so that when you take pictures, you're not taking pictures today and you say you are talking about this thing. I always say something. For instance, you put it on your CV and someone is looking through your CV. They need to be able to see a track record, growth, not you involved in different sectors all the time. And another thing also is try to be involved in advocacy and policy. At the end of the day, whatever policies is made in the country, we're all going to, take a part in it. So try your best to be involved in advocacy policy. And again, I'll come back to human capital. It's very, 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 very important to to connections, to make. I'm very guilty of that. I like to mind my business a lot, but once you are in the social entrepreneurial space, you don't have a choice. You need to be ready to, talk to other people and connect with other people. So yes, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shay. So be ready to this business. You can't just mind your business. So thank you so much, Shay. Key thing, human capital. I think that's another thing that we've been hearing a lot, and you have further just reinforced it today. Human capital and its importance to even telling impactful stories, creating impactful stories. And you've talked about social media. You've talked about the intentionality behind it. You've talked about getting the right people, getting the support that would help you craft the impact, the stories, the change that you are making, and be loud. Emanuela said, be loud, be heard. You are further reinforcing, be loud. Don't hide in your space. Don't be quiet. Don't be silent. Speak to people, connect with people, talk about what you're doing, and find the right people. So thank you so much, Shay. So for those people here now, before I allow you to leave, for those people here, you've turned your video off. Just one more question, Shay. For those people who are project leads and who are also volunteers here, they're going into the Youth Job Service, and I would like you to just share just one advice that you have for them.
I think I will still go back to don't do it for the gram, because these days sometimes it feels like so many people are doing so many things because they want to post it online, or because they are applying for something and they want to be able to say, oh, I volunteered, I'm a volunteer, and they just want to add it on their CV and they don't really care about what you are doing. I've experienced that a lot, where people just want to say, oh, I volunteered in this thing. So I would just say, people are opening up their community, they're opening up their projects for you to come and volunteer. And I would say that just do it right. Do it right, so that they say that the world is very small, and we're all like water. You don't know where you're going to meet anyone tomorrow. You don't know on which table your name is going to appear. You don't know what office you're going to walk into and you will meet someone there. So this is a great opportunity to serve others. And so do it with your heart, do it passionately. And if while doing it, you find out that you have a passion for something, don't be scared. Just do it and spread the word. I always say that there are so many projects out there. You can never do too much for the community. That's it for me.
Thank you so much. So do it with the heart, bring the heart, do it right, do it with the heart, and you just never know. Yeah, do it. Thank you so much, Shay. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much, Shay. All right, so I see all the comments coming in. Thank you to everyone who stayed tuned. I hope that we are enjoying. I hope that we are learning one thing or the other. I see a lot of comments already dropping. I see some key things that people are taking away. I'm going to be proceeding into our final conversation with another interesting guest that we have today. I'm going to proceed into another interesting guest, and we have Peace First Ambassador. We have Peace First Ambassador in the house, and her name is Anita Diwaba. Anita, I hope I pronounced that properly. Diwaba. Am I correct?
Yes, that is actually quite spot on. A lot of people mispronounce my surname, but that is actually quite spot on. I'm impressed.
Nice. I need a gift. I need a prize. But thank you for joining us. And we're going to be speaking with Anita, and we're discussing how do you integrate technology into your project execution. Anita, last year we had the pandemic. A lot of people did projects that were virtual. And this year we've opened the opportunity to have virtual or physical projects. So to everyone who's listening, if you're a volunteer project lead, you have the opportunity to actually run either a physical project or a virtual project, or if you want to have a hybrid, you could have a little of both. That's up to you, and that's fine. But Anita, we're now in the aftermath, or we're still in the recovery process from the pandemic. What are some of the critical ways? In fact, let me start with this first question. Why do people fail or forget to put technology in their project design or execution?
Yeah, thank you, Rumi. I'm actually so honored to be here. Thank you to Leap Africa for inviting me. Yeah, so I think the reason why that people forget about infusing technology is that we don't necessarily understand what it is meant by infusing technology in your project. So when I was given the brief and I was sort of doing my own research about, okay, why is it important? Because it's a question that when I got and I received it, I couldn't answer it. I had to like think about it. And I was like, it goes back to like the most basic thing, communication. How do you communicate with your team partners? How do you communicate with your audience? How do you communicate with the people you're trying to interact with? So yeah, technology you can't not have technology as part of your project, especially now with the COVID situation. So everything that I am involved in, every project, every campaign, it requires some form of technology, whether it is just whether it is a physical or virtual project. I need to communicate through some form of medium, and that will be through technology. So yeah, you can't not have technology as part of your project execution.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Anita, for that. And I like how you just emphasized that technology is almost a non-negotiable right now with your projects. But there's a struggle that some change makers may have in terms of finding that inclusion in adopting technology, and so you find that sometimes they're trying to balance the need for inclusion with the need for adapting with technology. So some people are on the call, some people are volunteers or project leads, or just generally change makers, and they're thinking, well, I want to be able to be as inclusive in my project. And that might maybe have a trade-off on technology because I'm trying to achieve inclusion. I want to have more people reached. I want to go into a low-income community, for instance. What are some of the key tips that you could give to them that they could begin to adopt in striking a healthy balance between the need to have as many people included in their project and then also the need to adapt technology in their project execution?
Yeah, definitely. This is a problem that my partners and I faced when we were we have a nonprofit called Ngwegwezi NPO. So it's a tutoring NPO. We provide tutoring services to a community in Khayelitsha, which is a very poor, disadvantaged community ridden with crime, and the socioeconomic status is very, very low. So we were hit so hard by COVID-19 because we were like, okay, here we have learners who have been disadvantaged. They barely have anything to eat. So how do we infuse, okay, we are under lockdown and we have learners, we can't do remote learning because their schools can't do remote learning either because their schools hardly even have like sanitation facilities. So it's complex things like those, and it's still an issue that we're still trying to find a solution to. And it's not been easy because we're like, what are we supposed to do? We can't sort of neglect and overlook the lockdown regulations that have been set in place by the executive of the country. But at the same time, we can't sort of let or leave our learners to just fend for themselves, because for a lot of them, we were like their only hope. And we played a role that was beyond the academic role. We had like a lot of cultural and extracurricular activities for them. So we're like, how are we going to manage this? And we can't risk our tutors going into the communities and going into these learners' homes, because then we might risk them contracting COVID-19. So it was a mess. It's still a huge conundrum that we're trying to figure out how to like balance, this thing of trying to execute our services, but at the same time being safe. So it's been a challenge. It's still a challenge that even I have no solutions to. So yeah, but to answer your question, there are a couple of organizations and projects that I've been a part of. So a lot of them, what they do is because everything is virtual. So what they do is they try to give incentives for if you're a change maker and you want to participate in this project, so you can participate as long as you have some form of computer or a mobile device, and we will subsidize your data. And they subsidize the data through sponsorships that they have from collaborating with other partners. So that would be, one of the ways that you can mitigate the situation, is to try to collaborate with some of your partners, or even the government, to sponsor data costs. And even, I don't know, if the financial circumstance of your project is willing, you can even try to sponsor devices as well. So yeah, but even with that, a lot of the communities have ICT problems. They don't have networks, like proper networks. So the problem just transcends bigger than your project, bigger than you. And then it goes back to a government thing. It goes back to, a geographical, spatial, socioeconomic situation that is supposed to be solved by the government, because there's not much we can do if that particular community does not have, proper ICT facilities or infrastructure. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a weird position that we've been just placed in by COVID. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anita. And I think I agree with you. I think it's an area that we continue to, that is still developing, especially with the infrastructure. And just like you mentioned, there's a lot of times technology is reliant, or it's dependent on infrastructural development or infrastructural, the fact that infrastructure works and exists, right? So technology sometimes, especially in our climate, can be hampered by, a lot of the infrastructural deficits that we have. I'd like to also just ask this question in terms of the young people on the call who are going into projects. They're going to be looking into the sustainable development goals. They're going to be trying to also adopt some technological tools in executing their projects. I know that you talked about how, sponsorship and, some incentives that could, help access, foster access for a lot of people, especially in the low-income communities. But when you think about the people who are also just trying to execute projects that may not be as deep-seated as what you've described in terms of your challenges, what are some specific technology tools that people can gain access to that are not too pricey and that are readily available that could help facilitate the execution of their projects? Simple tools that they could use, technology tools that would help even just strengthen the quality, the reach, or the impact of their projects.
Yeah, so as you were speaking, I just had an idea. So there's this friend of mine. He runs a business. It's not a social enterprise. It's a full-on business that he's trying to he is doing. So he does social media marketing, and he does digital marketing, and he does posters, he does web designs and everything. And he does that through a cell phone, like a single cell phone. Like, he does graphic designs and the most beautiful posters, the most beautiful creative things that I can't even do with a laptop. So my advice would be, use what you have. If you only have a mobile device, if you only have a cell phone, and it has internet access, So just use that. Use what you have at your discretion rather than wanting when you don't necessarily have the means to get, the most sophisticated technological devices to sort of initiate or implement your grand plan. Use what you have. Use what you have at your disposal to start up. There's no excuse. There was, he taught me so much, because I'm like, okay, there's actually no excuse for me to be slacking on a lot of things, because I complain about, I don't have access to a good camera quality, so I can't do this, I can't do that. And here he is doing the most sophisticated things, web designing using a cell phone. So graphic designing using a cell phone. So use what you have, just leverage what you have at the moment and use that to do what you have to do. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anita. I think that was very insightful. Use what you have. Okay, so another reminder there, use what you have, leverage. I see Ogene's comment, thank you. Leverage what you have. Stop complaining, stop focusing much on what you don't have. You've just had Anita's friend who's able to do amazing, incredible things with a mobile phone, a smartphone. So explore the apps, explore all of the software, the technology, go online, do research, check out some apps. I mean, there's some very interesting apps these days that do some incredible things you wouldn't even believe.
Yes.
So leverage all of those resources and tools online. I mean, these days where, the global village is shrinking, so you can connect with people, you can use different apps, different softwares, and you don't have to even pay much. A lot of times people are saying, no, technology, so I have to pay. I don't have that amount of money. How am I going to raise it? But there's a lot of free stuff that you could actually download and you can use to be able to strengthen and deepen your project. Anita, before I let you go, a final advice for the project leads, the volunteers on the call, looking forward, excited to the Youth Day of Service and all of the projects that they will be executing. What's Anita saying to them today?
So I think my final word of advice, I think it goes back to what Shay just before me said. You need to know your community. So, for example, I work with, I've lived in the community that I work in. So I know all the depths and, the complexities of that community because I've lived there most of my life. So know your community. So when situations like these, like where you have to, try to find ways to implement your project, and there's this challenge that's COVID, and the solution to that is going remote, but you can't go remote because access issues. So know your community and know what your community is able to, there's an English word for it, but I can't seem to actually remember. Yeah.
Due diligence.
Know what your community, the capacity of your community. That's the word I was looking for. Know what your the capacity of your community is, so you don't go overboard. Imagine if I wasn't from that community that I'm helping, and I'm like, okay, so COVID is here, and let's find a way that we can carry on giving out our services. Like, okay, the only solution for us is remote learning and technological, using technology to facilitate that. But most of the learners in the NPO that we're running don't have access to digital devices. They don't even have proper ICT infrastructure. So then the problem goes beyond what I can do, beyond what the NPO can do, beyond our scope. So know your community, know what capacity is there, know the depths of your community, so you can provide efficient solutions to the problem. So yeah, and also hold the government accountable, because there's no reason why at this day and age we still have ICT infrastructural problems. And in South Africa, it's unfortunate because it's racially divided. So it just becomes, a very, very heartbreaking situation, because these are not the same circumstances in more affluent areas, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome, fantastic, Anita. Thank you so much. So, know your community. I think that's a big one. Capacity. You kept stressing that. Anita, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. We truly appreciate it. And I know that we're on board with the Youth Day of Service, so we look forward to hearing from you much more, and have a wonderful rest of the evening. Thank you so much, Anita.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Take care. All right, so that's it. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, everyone. We want to appreciate all our speakers. I think an important thing that Anita mentioned, and a good way to close and conclude this afternoon is, know your community. So there's some people on the call who are project leads or volunteers right now, and you may not have gone to your community. You may not know your community as you should. I would encourage you to spend the weekend, because we kick off next week with the Youth Day of Service officially. I would encourage you to spend the weekend actually visiting some of those communities. If you can't visit physically, reach out to somebody that knows somebody in that community. Try and get some information, try and gather some data about the community. I'd like to especially thank Michael Balogun, who is the project lead for Art for Wellbeing, for joining us. Miriam Balogun, thank you so much. I know she's maybe still on the call or have dropped off. Ebuka Alumona, thank you, co-founder of peardecker.com.ng. He was also a project lead last year. Thank you. To Oluwase Oluyole, who's the founder of the Dreamcatchers Academy. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Anita Diwaba, thank you. She's the Peace First Ambassador. Thank you for joining us. Emanuela, thank you, Emanuela, who's from MasterCard. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that we may have some questions, and don't hit that leave button just yet. Okay, it's time for questions and answers. I'd like to remind us that the Youth Day of Service is held in commemoration of the International Youth Day, where young people are celebrating across the world the Youth Day. Youth, and this theme, the theme for this year is youthful and useful. I would like to say in the comments, if there's anybody who's useful and youthful in the house, come on, type that with so much confidence and pride in the comments. I am youthful and useful. Put your name attached to it and say, Marvelous is youthful and useful. Let's see the comments coming in. I see that we have some questions. I'll just go to the questions section, and I have my colleague who will be assisting me in answering the questions. Okay, so if you make sure that you wait behind so that we can go through the questions you have asked. All right. The first question here is it allowed for one to engage youths in one community who have building and painting skills but have no access to social media to volunteer in the WhatsApp group platform? So I'll take that again. Is it allowed for one to engage youths in one's community who have building and painting skills but don't have access to social media to volunteer in the WhatsApp platform? Timmy, if you're there, I mean, I could easily just go on and respond, but if you want to respond, you can go ahead. Okay, so Timile hasn't come off yet. So I would say to Justice, your question is an interesting one, and I like that you brought that up. What I would say in response is, remember that for every project, you have the liberty to be able to engage your volunteers as much as you want and in whatever form or fashion or platform or channel that you choose. So if you have volunteers in your community and you want to lead a project in that community and your volunteers don't have access to social media and they can't join the WhatsApp group, improvise, okay? Make sure they're part and you're communicating. One of the key things we've talked about today is communicate with them. So you could have your virtual volunteers and you could also let them know, but the other guys who are offline and don't have access, continue to engage them as much as you can. If you have their numbers, you can call them. If you have somebody, one of them who's representative of the rest of them that you can reach via a feature phone that just takes calls and SMSs, you can also do that. But remember that the essence is for you to have some level of inclusion. So don't let their access to social media stop them or hamper them from getting involved. I'm sure these people are equally as excited, as youthful, as energetic, and they want to also give back. They want to contribute. Please don't rob them of that opportunity. Engage them as much as you can physically, and as much as technology allows you to. I hope that helps. Justice. And if it doesn't, please let us know so that we can go further. The next question says, how's the turn up in terms of volunteers? I mean, we have a number of volunteers already going on, and you know, just head to the website. You can register as a volunteer there. You have the opportunity to select projects that have been registered, a project that appeals to you, a project that, you know, you're passionate about, it resonates with you. You have the opportunity to go on to www.youthdayofservice.org. Okay, www.youthdayofservice.org. There you would find how to register as a volunteer or register a project. I hope that answers anonymous attendee. Okay, and the final question is, I want to ask if there will be provisions for the 16 to 18 outreach we were asked to organize. For example, I filled in the form that we need school materials for the school outreach. Okay, this is provisions for the 16 to 18 outreach we were asked to organize. For example, I filled in the form that we need school materials for the school outreach. Okay, so I think this person might be speaking to resources for your project. Okay, I think one of the things that we've also heard from our speakers today is, you know, try and just take a step back and look within your network. Look within your network, who's able to help with the materials. You know, there's always something you can use. There's always something you can work with, all right? There's always something that you can work with. So, okay, Timmy, you can go ahead. I think you want to answer that. Go ahead, Timmy.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me, Osama?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for joining us. So we need more details about the question you asked in terms of the outreach. Is that a project registered by you? If it is, let us have the details. And if I also saw a question about, okay, there is a hand raised, Osama. Okay,
right.
Can I ask a response? Okay. There is a form that requires your permission before we could fill it in. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. Kindly let me know what form you're referring to, please.
She's referring to the survey form.
Yes. Yes?
She's referring to the survey form.
Oh.
Posted by Catherine, yes.
All right, Catherine, please, could you check could you reshare the link again? We checked from mine. Thank you for drawing our attention to that again. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to respond to the question on support. I can see that question about what kind of support should project leads be expecting from Leap Africa. So like Osama rightly said, aside from the fact that we are giving you the platform where you can get volunteers to also run this project with you, there are also opportunities of micro grants or sub grants. And I think we've mentioned it in some webinars before. It is quite limited. So not everyone is eligible for it, but there are different sub-grants that you can plug into. One of them is the Sterling One Foundation sub-grant, which if you attended one of our AgiLive series, we hosted the CEO of the Sterling One Foundation, where she gave more details about the sub-grant, but you can find more details about it even on the website. So the sub-grant is available for Sterling One, where you can apply with your project initiatives, just state what you're doing, apply both on the YDS platform, that is register your project, and then on Sterling One Foundation. We also have other sub-grants and opportunities that we will be sharing with volunteers directly in the next 2 days. One of our partners will be giving micro grants to some projects too, so we'll be sharing that too. Aside the sub-grants and opportunity, we also have a partner who is willing to give in-kind should I say materials or donations or rewards that project leads could also win. I'm referring to the partner in terms of Global Citizens. So there are rewards on their platform that because you are registered in our YDUS community, you are leading a project, you have access to that too. So all of these details and more of these offerings and support that will be coming from LEAP2 will be shared on the platform. Please let me know if there's any other question regarding this. Thank you, Sarame.
All right, thank you so much, Timileyin, for that. Really, really appreciate it. Just want to encourage everyone. I see a comment that the website Giving NG is not working. Please, Justice, I hope that you are on the. I hope you're on the Telegram platform. Okay, if you're on the Telegram platform, the link will be also shared there. And then just to say that if we're having any challenges with any of the websites, any of the links, sometimes it could be, and I'm stressing to say it could be, that we need to change our browser. It could be a connection issue. So make sure that you also tick those boxes. And I see that a new link has been dropped. So please follow that link and it should take you there. Thank you very much again, Timi. I see a question here that's talking about individuals wanting incentives, and as a team lead, you're overwhelmed. So I can totally relate to your challenge, Anonymous, and I know how frustrating it can be. So I would like to encourage you to say that, you know, try to appeal to some side of your team. You know, we heard from project leads from last year, try to appeal to some sides of them. Have conversations. If you need to speak to them one-on-one, maybe you take the engagement of the WhatsApp for this particular reason, and, you know, call them one-on-one and try to discuss with them and explain, you know, what the situation is. And I'm sure that people are understanding, and I'm sure that you have people who are definitely understanding on your team. So I would encourage that you try reaching out personally to each one, and let's see how that goes. As project lead, expecting from what support? I think we've answered that. Please, as a lead project, how can we access materials? All the materials on the website. All materials are on the websites. All materials are on the website. So please head to the website. It's in the comments. You will find everything you need in the comments. Okay, thank you everyone for your time. Appreciate it. I'm just going to wrap up by telling you a few things about Leap Africa. As my colleague just helps to share screen. So Leap Africa, very quickly, is actually a youth leadership or youth-focused development organization. And our vision is really to be recognized as a premier resource center for developing dynamic, innovative, and principled leaders who will drive Africa's realization of its full potential. Our mission is also to inspire, to empower, and equip a new cadre of African leaders by providing the skills and the tools for personal and organizational and community transformation. Our values that we have as an acronym is RISE. R stands for respect, E, I stands for integrity, S for synergy, and E for excellence. And then our reach over the past few years, we've been able to have some established presence in 6 countries, still counting: Ghana, Nigeria, Malawi, Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia. Over 7,600 entrepreneurs reached, over 34,000 students reached through our different programs, and over 1,100 teachers and school administrators have also been reached. Over 1 million indirect beneficiaries through our community change projects across 26 states in Nigeria and 5 other African countries. And finally, we have some resources, Leap Africa books that you could pick up. They're available on Amazon, Okada Books, BAM Books. So somebody mentioned learning. One of our guests mentioned learning as an essential skill in social, in being a change maker and implementing projects. So these are some books that you can find on Amazon, on Okada Books or BAM Books, and we hope that these resources will be useful to you. I want to just thank everyone. I see Ogene's hand up. Ogene, you have your hand up. Is there a question or a comment? Ogene's hand is up.
So good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ogene.
Yes, so there is something I observe and it's really giving me issue. That is one, I've looked at posters coming out from the Telegram group.